in Gyeonggi-shan Dojang.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the bottom left-hand corner of Terminus. I'm sorry, more like the 6 o'clock position. We have ROX.KIS.Slivko. He's spawning as our green Zerg player. His opponent over at the 3 o'clock position, that is Sickness from Dream Team Gaming. He is our purple Protoss. And I still have to say, though, my favorite ZVP I've seen on this map.
Yeah?
And it was about 6 minutes long.
Really?
And it was Idra trying to do the Nesty Spinecrawler rush.
Really? On this map?
Yes, on this map against Mana, I believe it was.
Huh.
And it failed horribly. And he got everything set up, started attacking with the first Spinecrawler, and immediately called GG when the first force field went down.
Yeah, that's such a difficult little trick to get to work. And I mean, if you go back and watch that game, Nesty, maybe got a little bit lucky on that one too.
Sure.
So it's such a cool game to remember. But yeah, players have tried to recreate it, and it's just the stars and moons have to basically align perfectly for it to work out. And
yeah.
A lot of times it doesn't. I'd be pretty surprised. I mean, we've seen some weird stuff today in ZVP.
Sure.
I'd be pretty surprised if we saw that.
I'm waiting for something else just bizarre at the moment, and we'll see what Slivko wants to do.
Yep.
His Zerg brethren have proxy hatched a couple of times so far. They've done things a little bit off the walls. We'll see if we get a nice, just conventional macro game here.
Yeah, I gotta say, Sickness has been really, really good too in his games. He's been creative. He's been really good with his micro. His play has been really solid. I think if anything kind of tips the scales in the favor of one team, it's going to be what Sickness is doing right now. He's really doing his team proud with these games.
And it looks like we're going to have 16 hatch, 16 pool here out of Slivko.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
A bit risky, but
certainly
interesting.
You get yourself up some extra drones to defend and such if necessary. But Sickness, on the other hand, oh wow, he's actually going to scout his opponent last anyway, so not going to be able to put on a whole lot of pressure. Did double gas once again, though.
Yeah, interestingly enough, double gas and not forge expanding, which is something you really commonly see on this map. Looks like I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him go for another sentry expand, or a 3-gate expand as well.
Yeah, this was just a neat way to get at the timing of sentry expand, as we saw.
Yeah, well, I suppose sentry expand is a 3-gate expand, or 3-gate is a type of sentry expand, possibly.
Yes.
You know what I mean.
We've got you covered. We've got
Definitions.
you covered. But, and I want to remind you guys as well that we've got some pretty exciting games coming up this week as well. I believe that this set is the only one from our round of 16, but we actually have 2 from our round of 8, featuring some pretty ridiculous teams as well, like Xenax and Itzgosu and stuff like that as well. So, hopefully you guys will stick around. Again, we are going to have this week, Monday to Friday, Team Arena Challenge 2 qualifier action. On Saturday, we will have Fight Club between Slayers Gonzi and Mouse Mana, a best of 9 for $500.
Yeah, that'll be a cool TVP.
Definitely.
That probe won't get to see it, though.
No.
His days are numbered.
He really wanted to as well. He's like, I love learning from Mana.
Never
then he
get
dies.
to see Fight Club again.
Aw.
Poor probe.
And then on Sunday, we will actually present the finals of this first qualifier as well. So there you have it. And let's go ahead and take a look as a Stalker is already making its way out. A little bit different build order from what we saw last time. And he actually has to watch out because a few Lings could come in and trap that pretty easily.
Yeah, and look at that. There's a Twilight Council just popped up on the production queue. Will it finally be DT?
There was your double gas before.
We will see. That's interesting.
And he's cut gateway production now.
The old classic thing that Zergs look for, though, is if you see the Stalker after the Zealot, you can kind of assume in a lot of cases it's not going to be expand. It's not always true. Sometimes Protoss players will do it just to confuse their opponents.
Sure.
But, it could be that Slivko might know what's up. Then again, it's probably a DT expand as well. So it still will be an expand, just a little bit different than a lot of Zergs will encounter.
Let's see.
Oh, no, it's going to be Blink.
Blink is actually coming up at the moment. So we may very well just have a strong Blink Stalker push, possibly, and try and end the game right away. This map, though, it can be useful, but you've got to think, well, I thought Slivko for one was going to start connecting the creep between his 2 bases, but he should be able to spam Zerglings out in mass enough to put a stop to a handful of Stalkers. Looks like that's kind of what he's done right away. Yeah, it is.
Is going to put a lot of pressure on Sickness. Is he going to move right up the ramp?
Find out. He sends a couple of Zerglings up there now. No units have moved in response yet.
And the Stalker probably saw quite a few of those Zerglings as well as they ran by.
Yeah, I imagine so. It's got pretty good vision out there.
Yep, Sickness may have a good idea about it. Roach Warren going down. for Slivko here. So I think he realizes, he's like, all right, you haven't expanded yet. You showed a Stalker. Something's up here. I should really kind of play a little bit more defensive. So he's putting down the Roach Warren, putting down a Spine Crawler, putting down a Spore Crawler even. So yeah, 2 Spores just wanting to say ultra defensive. Yeah, I think he's thinking DT's a little bit too. It's very weird. It's a Blink expand apparently from Sickness. Very strange.
I guess it certainly keeps you safe against some sort of early game Roach push or something like that. Although, if that was going to be the case, that probably would have hit about, well, because there was a huge investment in Zerglings, that would have hit about a minute ago.
Yeah, you'd have Blink, but just not a lot of Stalkers to defend with.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Odd. All right. So, once again, an unconventional game. This one at least doesn't feel like an old game. It just still feels unconventional.
Yeah, Slivko playing very, very defensively now. Just wants to make sure that he survives whatever his opponent's going to throw at him, which could end up being nothing, actually, for a while because of the expansion. But we'll have to see. It looks like Sickness may be considering doing some sort of 3-gate push here now that Blink is done, trying to do a little bit of damage. And the second Spine Crawler is going to be a little bit late for this third Spine Crawler starting right now. Oh, but that looks like a pretty awesome flank. Sees the Zerglings. Let's see. Whoops.
Yep.
One actually just lost that.
Yes, he did. Did not cancel that, unfortunately. Sickness doing the smart thing and backing himself back into a corner there. A little surprised that Slivko, I think he has plenty enough there to go ahead and sandwich those in and at least force the initial round of Blinks out.
Well,
but
what ended up happening there was he showed his Zerglings in the back a little bit too early. So Sickness is like, oh, I better not push this or I'm going to get flanked. Yeah, so then he just pulled back. Doing the right thing. Sickness making a lot of smart moves this game.
Yeah, let's take a look back on Slivko's side of things. He does have layer tech coming up now. Finally starting to re-drone. He's got to watch out his opponent on 2 bases. Will be able to actually push quite ahead with a lot of probes. But yes, does actually save the pylon just in the nick of time.
And those Zerglings still waiting for an opportunity to flank. But will they get one? This is such a weird expansion from Sickness.
I know.
I kind of like it. I feel like it's a little bit risky, but it's kind of cool. It's cool
agreed.
To see. It's something you hardly ever see.
I mean, your expansion comes later. You don't have as many units at the beginning of the game, so you sacrifice a little bit of economy. You sacrifice some, actually, you know, a good portion of your ground force, but it really does throw your opponent off.
Yeah, I mean, you're relying on Blink, which is a spell that's not terribly commonly used for expands. Looks like you can barely hit some of those roaches on the edge there, it looks like, and all the roaches need to do is just scoot forward just a little bit.
This Stalker just is like, pew, blinks back on home. But those destructible rocks are now cleaned up, so we will have another expansion here momentarily. Glider Constitution, of course, Roach Speed, and +1 weapons coming up now.
Wheel, that's kind of a funny word. Wheel.
And we do have a good number of sentries out finally to complement the Stalkers, but this was a weird order to get them in because you have a lot of Stalkers there. You have a good amount of sentries, but the sentries haven't been accumulating energy this entire game. All right. There are a lot of Roaches out now. They're about ready to get a bunch of upgrades.
Yeah. +1 and speed will finish at about the same time.
Yep.
Looks like Sickness has made enough sentries now that he's going to be doing some pushing here.
And let's see.
Time that with his other 3 gateways that's going to come out.
Infestation Pit hitting at about the same time as well. And, oh, watch out, Zerglings! Looks like they do end up getting away. Blink up to pick off a couple more units. But those Zerglings will be able to run away, no problem at all.
And it does give Sickness something to kind of think about there, too, having those Zerglings out on the map. Well, those are some vulnerable sentries.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if those Roaches had picked that moment to move on out, those would be a lot of dead sentries.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the Zerglings, though. There are a few Stalkers that are sitting behind. The Zerglings don't really want to push in and pressure right now.
Well-defended base there.
Yeah, certainly. But they will be able to make a nice flank here in a second. The Queen is going to fall right away. Unfortunately, a full energy Queen at that.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough for Sickness to push in here. I think he's going to be okay. Oh, no, losing that forward pylon, though. Yeah, he can't lose that. Trying to blink ahead desperately to save it. Oh, barely saves it.
Yes, he does.
Uh-oh, here comes the attack, though. Good force fields blocking out all those roaches while he deals with the Zerglings. He's losing some sentries, though. He's got to be a little bit more careful with those.
And let's see here, how many units are reinforcing? A bunch of roaches and a bunch of zerglings. Pathogen Glance was also going up as well, but we'll need to expend that gas and larvae on some infestors here in just a second, as that will be able to help him quite a bit. There we go, 3 infestors coming up now, but that is quite a large amount of stalkers sitting there.
You know, the really great thing that Sickness has done from having those units there all game is he's prevented a lot of drones from being made by Slivko. He's had to make all units, and here he goes trying to break this stalker force. Blinking back a large chunk of him. His blink micro is going to need to be pretty good. That's a lot of roaches, and they do have +1. Looks like he's going to at least be able to take out this crowd here.
Yeah, he does take out the first little set there, but there are quite a few units that are streaming in behind as well. A lot of the infestors finishing up at the same time. Yeah. Sickness, though, has equalized the supply. He is down a base at the moment, but he has still got a pretty devastating number of units on the field.
Here we go, putting down some more force fields to prevent the roaches from getting through. He wants to handle those spine crawlers. And I don't think those infestors have enough for fungal right now. I don't believe they do. Overlord's coming in to try to prevent the blink micro, but you can do it down from the reduction cap. Bottom as well.
Yeah. And looks like he actually did throw down a couple of fungals, so he was able to pin those units in place on the left-hand side. And he does have quite a bit left over now, and like you said, trying to look at that Overlord wall there. So a tug-of-war is going in outside of the base, and it looks like he's going to try and make push number 2 now. No! Blink down onto the low ground, and this hatchery has come under fire.
Yeah, this is a bit of a risk here by Sickness, but I think he should be able to pull out just in time. We'll see. Some Zerglings coming in as well. Those do quite well against Blink Stalkers, obviously.
Yes, they do. And we do have a few infestors sitting there now, but the infestors unfortunately don't have enough energy to go ahead and throw down any more fungal growth, so the Blink Stalkers are still pressuring this base, and the hatchery may just need to be sacked.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not quite sure why he's not targeting the hatchery with all the stalkers right now. We'll see. He's making a warp prison as well.
Yeah.
Does kill the 3rd, so that does help.
That helps quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Slight supply lead for Slivko, but losing that 3rd is really going to hurt him.
And let's go ahead and take a look here as we have just a bunch more infestors and links coming up. That's pretty much the order of the day. The tug-of-war battle continues now. Sickness was slowly pulling ahead, but he doesn't have any more sentries with this anymore. He is catching infestors, though, before they're able to launch their fungal growth. There, finally, a fungal growth does hit, and it looks like now Slivko may have enough to break this position.
Yeah, he's pushing back those stalkers pretty easily. The ones on the low ground are going to be able to fire, but yeah, that's going to be about it. Nice fungal trapping a lot of those stalkers. And Sickness is going to lose nearly all his units there. He might get a couple away.
Yeah, but you are absolutely right. That is a ton of stalkers that were just lost there. Now a 132 to 69 supply difference. That is pretty staggering at the moment, as Slivko has taken a huge advantage now. May very well just tie this up for his team.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's making a lot of units, not making a lot of drones, even though he is remaking that hatchery. It looks like he's more interested in going and doing damage to his opponent. And if he knows his opponent's on just 2 bases right now, he would be very, very happy to see that.
Yes, yes he would, as a matter of fact. So looks like that 3rd base is going to get put into play pretty soon. That's a pretty large wall up at the front, but that's a lot of units.
That's a lot of DPS, yeah. Not a lot of stalkers firing from behind. Maybe not enough to prevent this from going through those Zerglings. Oh, they can barely squeeze through there. Interesting.
Yeah. And that is actually very, very good. That's everything that Slivko needed right now. The rest of the units are starting to power their way through. The Immortal does get a couple of kills before it goes down, as it is so strong against roaches, but there are just too many units that are flooding in now. An 80 supply difference between our 2 players, and Slivko, he's played quite a game.
Yeah, kind of a bizarre build from Sickness. Didn't quite work out for him this time. He did kill the 3rd, but he kind of gave his opponent a long enough time to produce a big enough army to come back and win with a counterattack.
Oh, looks like we had a drop going on at the same time here into the main, but Slivko is starting to reinforce enough units now that he is going to be able to pick off everything sitting out there.
Should be just fine here. Might even get that warp prison. That'd be pretty huge.
Now hopefully he turns his attention to it.
And he does.
There it is.
Does get it. A few more units inside the main, but yeah, meanwhile back at the base of Sickness,
yeah,
things aren't looking too good for the Protoss player here.
Not so hot at the moment. A whole lot of zero mining being done.
Yeah.
And the probes are going to get slaughtered. There's the GG, and Slivko is taking the game for ROX.KIS, and we are tied up now 3-3 of this best of 9.